where we face the reality that professional football in South Africa is facing a threat that could lead to its extension. To be clear, the PSL is facing an existential threat as a sustainable professional football, self-funded league that is recognized as one of the top leagues in the world. This, ladies and gentlemen, will be achieved through an enactment by ICASA of the amendment to its regulations that govern sports.
All right, that's just a reminder what happened this week. The chairman of the Premier Soccer League, Irvin Khoza, said the existence of professional football in South Africa was under threat. This comes on the back of proposed amendments to the Sports Broadcasting Services Act by ICASA. Khoza has been strong in his criticism, even saying they would shut down the PSL if the amendments go ahead. ICASA has given affected and interested parties until March to give their input. So let's bring in the sports experts now. And we've got in studio with us SABC sport journalist Vilile Nyandu, who joins us to talk a little bit more about this. So good to have you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Morning, Leon.
So, I mean, this is something that's quite, this is a major issue. According to the draft, these amendments basically say they're to increase exposure of sport in the national interest, and it is not exclusively going to affect PSL and other sporting codes. Try and explain it to us. What are they proposing?
Fortunately, I did have an interview yesterday with ICASA, because when I first saw this draft last year, I think around the 15th of last month, you could tell that this is going to be a serious game changer. Yeah. Because what they've done now, they're trying to balance between audience and also the revenue that has to be made. But also, you will recall that for a very long time, you've got sporting codes that have not been accessible to the masses, especially when you talk about rugby, you talk about cricket. With football, it's been different, because with rugby and cricket, they operate differently, where you find that the federations, South African Rugby Union and also Cricket South Africa, they've got the whole basket where everything is with SuperSport. With football, the professional arm of football is with SuperSport through PSL, and you've had SAFA being with SABC, so it's been different there. So now what they've done, they've categorized the broadcast of the sporting codes and also the events. In the main, you still have your FIFA World Cup, you have your Cricket World Cup, you have your Rugby World Cup, and when you look at the proposed categories that they're coming with, most of them you will still find on SABC. For instance, this year you've got the AFCON, you've got the World Cup, Cricket World Cup and the Rugby World Cup, the FIFA World Cup as well, the Summer Olympics, the Paralympic Games. You'll still have them here. But what they are proposing now is that they must be on a free-to-air channel, and they must be live on a free-to-air channel. And the only one that is not there in Group A, because they've grouped them, is IWF World Championships. But still, it's not like you're just going to be given these things.
That's the thing.
The free-to-air...
It's expensive.
It's expensive.
Very expensive.
You know, it's expensive. So now, and you know the discussion here at SABC has also been about, you're talking about mandate. Are you going to fund this mandate as government? So I think this is what we're going to hear from them. But the main one that they're talking about, and which Dr. Khoza is alluding to there, is the Group B. Because Group B is where most of the domestic sporting events have been listed. And amongst them, you also have your Super Rugby, you have your Currie Cup, you have all the football competitions that fall under the PSL from the league, and also all the other cup competitions. You have even the CAF Champions League, the CAF Confed, and all of those. So where it's confusing is that, and yesterday I couldn't get clarity from ICASA on
that's what I want to ask you.
Yes.
I mean, because it doesn't seem like ICASA is budging. I mean, you can see that the PSL are saying, you know, this could spell the end for the PSL, but ICASA are saying, we're not moving. This is what we want. So what did you get from ICASA yesterday?
What I gathered from them yesterday is that this is still just a draft.
Okay.
As from next week until from the 4th until the 15th of next month. They've opened this for written submissions. There'll also be oral submissions as well. They will be also expecting the federations and also the leagues to submit their own submissions as well. And in fact, there'll still be more consultation that's going to be done. And according to ICASA, they are waiting for the sports bodies, even the broadcasters, to make the submissions. And only then that they will come up with the final bill and on also what it will contain. And what we see in the present is not ideally what will be there come the envisaged time when they want to start with this process. Because the problem with Group B is that it says if a broadcast licensee, a pay TV, if they are not, if they are getting the rights, there will be no exclusivity. And also, with no exclusivity, it also has to come under sub-licensing conditions, which is not currently what is happening. Because let's take football, for instance. SABC is currently sub-licensing from SuperSport. So how can a free-to-air that has not paid for the primary broadcast rights be sub-licensing to a pay TV? And also when you pay for exclusivity.
Indeed.
So now, how can a company say pay 2 billion rands for the rights but still don't have exclusivity to that?
It's a big contradiction. It's very, very confusing at this stage, as you said. But the PSL, what they're arguing is they're saying that they are a commercial and domestic venture and should be excluded from, being put under the banner in the national interest, which is very difficult because you're talking about football. This is, the heart and soul of the nation. People love watching these games. So, what is your view where the league sits when it comes to the national conscience?
This one is very tricky. It's tricky. Let's take, for instance, what is happening with the CAF Champions League today. Sundowns is playing, and the masses will not see it because it's on SuperSport, and it's been happening for a very long time now. And SuperSport didn't just get that. They bought those rights from CAF through Lagadia. But where I have a problem, not necessarily with the PSL, FIFA and CAF and even other international sports bodies, when they sell the rights, they have the Maghreb region in Africa, North Africa, and then they have another package for the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. And as South Africa, we fall under sub-Saharan Africa, but the South African package is sold separately. And you still have the masses who now have to fund that, And if you look at the standard of living for a South African, it's now classified differently to someone who's in Botswana, who's in Zambia, because there's no proper regulation before from government. So the angle that government is coming with now, you don't know if maybe they are coming with this regulation because the socio-economic status of South Africans demands that government, at least maybe, they must regulate this thing.
Indeed.
And so these are the challenges.
It's huge challenges. Just finally, we even heard Irvin Khoza threatening to shut down the PSL. Is that just a big, loud threat, or is there a possibility something like this could actually happen?
Look, they're talking about possibly 80% of their revenue being put aside there. And if you look in what the broadcast deal of the PSL from 2007 until now has done to them, and in fact, SuperSport and PSL, they are due for a new TV deal that has to kick off now from the beginning of July this year, and it's been rumored to be over 3 billion rand, that deal. But you don't know, because these new regulations of ICASA, they are targeted to also start at the same time, and the implication of this could be very serious. And most PSL clubs, I have to say, they are going through a lot financially. Then they've been looking forward to that deal. And also, for me, there are some questions that need to be asked, because part of this, it's been alleged that it's also aimed at curtailing the monopoly of SuperSport.
Yes.
So isn't it time that also ICASA and government start to look at companies, possibly pay TV, that will give competition to sport.
Well, there you have it, Velile. Thank you very, very much. I'm sure something you are going to keep your eye on and your finger on the pulse of all of this. It's quite a difficult situation, but that was our SABC sports journalist, Velile Nyandu, talking to us about what is happening between ICASA and the PSL. Let's take a break and we talk about financial fitness after this. How to become a millionaire? That's the $1 million question. Stay tuned.